Emcee, full-time residents of the lake. Art, well known as one of the first rangers of the Quetico, trapper, guide, and with Dana ran a small resort. Dana was hoping to be here today, but she can't quite make it. But true with the concept, like in John's poem, the young start to assume the roles of the older and moving into roles of the responsibility for this lake. Marco, the grandson, would like to pass on his grandmother's comments on Irv. Marco?
I would like to welcome all of you. Many of you have traveled a great distance to be here today. My grandmother, Virginia, or as she's known, Dinah Madsen, extends her greetings and is disappointed that she's not able to attend due to her physical limitations, and she has some difficulty in walking. We're all here to pay tribute and honor to our mutual friend. Irv and my grandfather, Art Madsen, and my grandmother were longtime friends and next island year-round neighbors. Along with Tempest, they hunted, trapped, and put up ice together. They jointly guided many hunting and fishing parties and shared many meals. From time to time, Tempest and Irv had been over for meals at our home, but also whenever Grandpa could make it, Tempest invited him over for Thanksgiving dinner with her and Irv when the ice was passable. The back channel of this island to Irv's island was usually open at that time of year, and Grandpa would take a canoe and cache it over there earlier in the year, and then would go across if the ice hadn't thickened up to at that time. He'd go across in the canoe to join them for the holiday meal. I began to get to know Irv on a personal level after my grandfather died in 2000. The time that I had most available was in the late evenings after chores, which was Irv's prime time. I was able to visit most often during the winter. I saw in Irv firsthand the sage advice of the verse of Proverbs 27:10, "Thy father's friend forsake not." One of the favorite interests that we shared and talked extensively on many times late into the evening was airplanes. As I got to know Irv, I discovered that he also taught me more about my grandfather as he related the experiences that my grandfather and he shared and had in common. As Irv related the many stories of my grandfather, I was able to learn much about my grandfather that I did not know, and was reminded of lessons that he had taught me, but with practical applications described. It was uncanny to hear Irv relate different accounts where he would use some of the same expressions that my grandfather used, and to hear similar perspective on things. Irv became depressed for some time over the loss of the friendship when my grandfather died. Irv said that even though he and my grandfather did not get to see each other that often in their later years, it was just comforting to know that Grandpa was there. Many return trips from Irv's was under the stars. One tremendous value to me of the friendship was that Irv was constantly assisting and aiding me in shaping my skill set to live up here. I would seek out his advice for living and repairing, practical skills, the wisdom needed to live in the woods. His advice and what I learned was invaluable. Irv made sure that he had an ample supply of his favorite foods: Ritz crackers with peanut butter and grape jelly, Neapolitan ice cream, Tetley tea, and collectively, we on the lake made sure he was well stocked. Another of his favorite foods was small curd cottage cheese. Every time we would bring him a carton or two, he would remind us of the story when he was visiting my grandpa and grandma one winter by dog team, when my grandparents had been resupplied from food from town. My grandfather offered, "Irv, would you like some cottage cheese? We just got some today." She placed the carton, a spoon, and a bowl for him to dish up a portion, and then he proceeded to sit down and began to eat right out of the carton. After a few minutes, he placed the carton on the table. My mother, Helen Sue, was only 4 years old at the time, and Irv said that she could barely see over the top of the table. She raised up on her tiptoes to reach the carton and tipped it over to see inside and promptly exclaimed, "You ate it all!" Chagrined, he decided it was time to go. Grandma learned early on, whenever Irv and Tempest would be over for meals, not to pass him the entire serving dish, especially if it was stuffing. The whole thing would end up on his plate. Irv had survived a float plane crash as a passenger in a CB, about a quarter mile from here to the east. He told me that for some reason he had his head lowered at that moment and was thrown forward under a stiffening bar and through the windscreen. He was plunged so deeply underwater it was dark. He blew bubbles into his hand to tell which way to swim towards the surface, and he began swimming as hard as he could. Whatever Irv made or built, or any hobby he pursued, he was a perfectionist, especially in photography and gardening, 9 to 12 foot tall tomato plants. With his welding, he built things strong and made to last, unless he intended it to break and crank. There was hidden genius behind everything that he did. Last fall, when we were able to visit him in town at Sagonto's a few times, it was undecided how long he would be in town. I had said to Irv, "When the lake's frozen and you're ready to come back up, let me know, and I'll meet you at the landing." Irv replied, "I'm getting older every day." And the impression I got was that he did not feel sorry for himself, that he would no longer be able to be at Sag, but that he was somehow letting me down by not being there for me. He tended to try to fill in for the absence of my grandfather. What was evident was that he was content at Sagonto's home, and he mentioned how much he enjoyed the even heat, and it was very apparent that he much enjoyed Curly's cooking. We are very appreciative to Dave and Carol Sagonto for their tremendous generosity in opening their doors to Irv and all his visitors so he could spend his last days in dignity. The wisdom that Irv shared and that many continue to benefit from lives on.
Thank you, Mark. More heritage of the lake.